Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabriela Kostowska-Bogojska. I will be the moderator of this webinar today. I would like, in my personal capacity, and also on behalf of the whole WEG project team, to welcome you on board of this first peer learning webinar that WEG is co-organizing with our valuable partners, cooperating partners from the women entrepreneurship ecosystem. As you may already know, WEG platform intends to be the largest European platform for women entrepreneurship development, and it is supported by the European Commission and focuses on both women entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurship stakeholders as well. What we are practically trying to do, we want to build a community around women entrepreneurship, a community that will be able to represent and advocate women entrepreneurs' interests at a larger scale, hopefully, that will be able to create more learning, partnering, and matchmaking opportunities for women entrepreneurs across Europe, but also for women entrepreneurship stakeholders. And we want to do that in cooperation with these stakeholders, so hopefully to have a larger impact on public policy processes. We are planning a different type of activities in the scope of WEG. I will come back to some of them, the upcoming ones, by the end of this webinar, because now I would like to move on to the central part, to the core, to the reason why we are gathered today. And that is the discussion and sharing of practices and experiences when it comes to supporting women entrepreneurs in these quite difficult times imposed by COVID-19 crisis. I will not talk about what COVID-19 has done to our economic or productive lives or our lives in general. We are all well aware of that. But I would like to emphasize one fact, and that is that we as women are always, in every crisis, hit disproportionately larger compared to our male counterparts, and having that in mind, women entrepreneurs need us more than ever before. And as women entrepreneurs restructure, rebuild their operation in order to survive during and beyond COVID-19, we also need to do so. We as women stakeholders, women entrepreneurship stakeholders also, we need to reshape and reorganize, but not only on a short term. We have to also look at the longer term. What are the new policies, new strategies, new instruments that we need, because this is becoming our new reality. I'm not sure that we are getting back to normal. I'm afraid that this is going to become our new normal and that we need to adapt to it very, very fast. And that is why we need to work together on finding new solutions that will enable us to be more effective in supporting women entrepreneurs. And having that said, I'm very happy to be joined by four wonderful ladies today during this webinar. They do not only represent quite important women entrepreneurship stakeholders in their own field of operation, but they are individuals and professionals that are recognized as being largely supportive and contributing to women entrepreneurship development, women economic empowerment, and gender equality. Although they are quite different in terms of the type of organizations they represent, I believe that all of us, the panelists, myself, and all the attendees here today, we all share a similar passion. We all want to see more women entrepreneurs out there, more women-led businesses growing, expanding on national, international, and global markets, and more women on decision-making positions across the society. These two things must go hand in hand. And there is no better time of starting the larger changes and working together than the time of crisis. And this might be one of those times and one of those moments that we should use at least to have it as one positive thing out of these misfortunate times, is to come together and try to make the changes. Without further ado, I would like to present you my panelists for today, our panelists for today. We have the pleasure of having Mrs. Elizabeth Lenig. She is the member of the board and working on international affairs for the largest association of female entrepreneurs in Germany. We all know that association as WEDERU. So Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here today. We also have Mrs. Sanja Popovic-Pantic, the chair of the Women Entrepreneurship Group that works under the auspice of the largest business support network in Europe and beyond, if I may say, and that is the Enterprise Europe Network. So Sanja, thank you for joining. Also, it's a pleasure to have you once again on our webinars. Then we also have the pleasure of being joined by Mrs. Laurence Gil-Lewis, the Deputy Director of the UN Women office in Brussels, working for many years now for UN Women. And as you all know, we all share same goals when it comes to the gender equality aspects, so welcome on board as well. And last but definitely not least, we have Mrs. Maggie Berry, Executive Director for Europe of We Connect International, global network that really tries hard to have more women-led businesses in global supply chain networks. But I'm sure that all my panelists will give more information on their operation and on their background as we start. Before we continue with the presentations, just a moment of your time and your patience concerning the possibility for you to post questions. You can post questions at any point using the Q&A functionality. You will find Q&A functionality on the bottom of the screen in the middle. We will try to take as much as questions during the Q&A session. If we are not able to answer all of them, then we will do the follow-up after the webinar. Without further ado, I would like to invite Elizabeth to take the floor and to share with us what WEDU is doing for women entrepreneurs in general and what is doing more particularly for the COVID-19 times challenges. So Elizabeth, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. I'll just share my screen with you to make sure you can see what I'm looking at. So you should see, no, I'm going to have to change it 1 second. Where was that again? Here. So you should now see my screen. Thank you for asking me to play a role in today's meeting. My name is Elizabeth, and besides owning a business in legal and financial translations, I'm a member of the board of WEDU, the largest association for German women entrepreneurs here in this beautiful country of Germany. So our association is not new. It was founded in 1954 by Kita Ahlmann, and when she founded the association with 30 other businesswomen, the press reported on the next day that this group of ladies was simply going to be a millionaire coffee gossip group, and that it was definitely going to be a temporary phenomenon. That proved to be very, very wrong. She was a visionary, and 65 years later, one of the topics that was close to her heart is still a topic of today, namely putting women on supervisory boards. That's still a topic that is very much in the heart of what WEDU does today. So looking at modern day WEDU is a platform for mainly small and medium-sized entrepreneurs in all areas of business, to name but a few: trade, professional services, civil engineering. And in total, our ladies have a turnover of about 85 billion euros, and they employ some 500,000 members of staff in Germany. So in addition to this strong networking platform that we offer, politics, industry and society take note of our strong voice in our lobby work when we represent the opinions and the standpoints of our 1,800 members, our female entrepreneurs. In combination, these two focus areas, networking and lobbying, are what make the WEDU the largest and most successful association for female entrepreneurs in Germany. Our board has 7 members. These 7 members are volunteers, and they're elected for a period of 3 years at the annual general meeting. And they are supported, or we are supported by 9 paid members of staff who work in our offices head office in Berlin. So we provide up until Corona, we've provided our members with a great analog regional network with 16 active local WEDU chapters, where we host more than 300 events, presence events in Germany a year. And in addition to these 16 chapters, we have 3 overlay groups who are like special interest groups. We call them commissions. There's the STEM, the international, and the economic policy groups. I lead the international commission, and building bridges is what we intend to achieve in our international voluntary work. And VDU has been a member of FCEM, which is the Umbrella Association for Women Entrepreneur Associations around the world, since it was founded in the 50s. And that gives VDU contact to businesswomen across all industries in approximately 120 different countries. We, of course, work very closely with Maggie Berry at We Connect to certify the women-owned businesses in Germany, offering them unique opportunities to take part in local and global markets. I'm sure Maggie will go into more detail later. But on top of that, we also partner with many more organizations. We attend international conferences. We support women entrepreneur associations in the MENA region. And we host delegation trips with a focus on B2B exchange in different areas of the world. So from a lobbying or from a political point of view, in 2017, when the G20 summit took place in Germany, VDU was asked, together with another women's association, to organize the Women 20 dialogues in Germany, which of course we've been taking part in ever since. So moving on to what we've been doing during the corona pandemic, of course, the pandemic has severely affected a lot of our members, as it has female entrepreneurs around the world. And we were faced with the task of transforming ourselves from this very analog, active network into providing virtual support for our members. It was a great challenge, but it's one that we are sure we've mastered well, and I'll show you how we've done it. So the first step we took was to update our website by adding this orange button called Corona, where we constantly updated many times per day information regarding economic aid provided by the government for entrepreneurs, political demands. We added surveys, which we then used to formulate statements, political statements that we could then send out around Germany. That was the first step that we did. And then we soon added member-for-member webinars free of charge. We have so much expertise and knowledge amongst our members that and their solidarity was immense. They wanted nothing more than to share their expertise and their knowledge to help their peers. Topics that we presented on included liquidity management, labour law, expertise on applying for aid, such as short-time work for employees, and virtual leadership. And these virtual seminars have proven to be so popular that it's definitely a format that we will be continuing post-corona. A weekly newsletter. So we had a newsletter in place at the VDU, which was sent out several times per year, and we increased the frequency of that to send out a weekly newsletter, which enclosed also the information about the economic aid updates, the press releases, and the information about the VDU webinars that will be continuing in the next week. So member surveys is something that we regularly sent out to our members to find out, for example, how many female entrepreneurs have implemented home offices for their employees, how many companies have been closed by official order or due to a lack of orders, the number of redundancies that had to be made, or if the companies have filed for insolvency. These are just a couple of examples of the questions that were asked in order to help our head office to formulate the political demands that were then sent out to the government as our lobby work. So, as I mentioned earlier, VDU does have a strong political voice, and normally we send out about 20 press releases per year. We dramatically increased this frequency to once a week during the height of the pandemic to include our political demands that were determined through the surveys that I've just explained. And we also sent out hashtag statements by VDU members. This is just one example by our president, Jasmine Ababian-Fogel. Her message was that we as female entrepreneurs will not accept tax increases in order to finance the cost of the corona policies that have been put in place by the government. So we set up also private groups on Facebook and LinkedIn to enable trustful exchange and support amongst our members. One of the examples here is the Corona Forum that we had for our VDU members, where you could ask questions, gain advice, advise others, motivate each other, etc. And our VDU marketplace, which we put in place so that we could all start buying more and more from each other. So a kind of a marketplace which has worked really well, which has been very popular amongst our members for professional services and for goods and wine and etc. So a couple of years ago, we started a social media campaign called VDU Voices, where an economic or political statement by one of our members was sent out via social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And this year we decided to adapt that to the Corona crisis, and VDU Voices became VDU Mutmacherinnen, which can be loosely translated as VDU members who inspire. So there were quotes on Corona-related economic and political topics to motivate each other to get through the Corona crisis together. And on the right, you can see a photograph of our president, Yasmin, and she recorded a video to offer moral support to all of our members. So all in all, the Corona pandemic has been and still is an incredibly trying time for our members and indeed for everyone. But it has actually brought our VDU members closer together. It's increased our solidarity to buy from each other and to give referrals. And it's reminded us of the old saying, alone we are invisible, but together we are invincible. So thank you for your time, and do get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It was quite inspiring what you just presented. It's amazing. It's amazing how all the members got together around this crisis and try to help each other. As far as I understood, most of the initiatives and most of the strength you find within your members. You organized the webinars and you provided support in different channels, either to social media or directly, directly online, I guess. And you also pushed harder on the political scene with the press releases, with the hashtags and all other channels that you have for lobbying in order to maximize the effects and to have your voice heard even better in this period of crisis. Really fantastic. You know, in my personal opinion, I believe that we all carry a burden when it comes to women entrepreneurship stakeholders, but I somehow feel that national associations are out there on the first line and that they really feel the pressure and the challenges that women entrepreneurs face on a daily basis. And it's very important that we all share our experiences and inspire. There are so many national associations across Europe, and thank you very much for sharing all of this. I'm quite sure that they will be inspired the way I was, and we are looking forward to the questions later on. So now we are moving on to our next presenter. I would like to ask Lawrence to share with us what UN Women is planning, doing, and supporting women entrepreneurs and women in general in this difficult COVID-19 times, and what we can look up to in the following months and what are the initiatives that we can join. So Lawrence, please, the floor is yours.
I was on mute. So thank you very much, Gabriela, for the kind introduction. And I am very pleased. So my name is Laurence, and I'm, as you said, the Deputy Director of the Brussels office of UN Women. Have been working for UN Women since its establishment, actually, so which was 10 years ago. We just celebrated the 10th anniversary of UN Women last Friday. So it's actually a fairly young UN organization, but very dedicated to gender equality and women's empowerment. I'm very pleased to be joining you today for this webinar, and on behalf of the whole UN Women team, I'll present some of the work that UN Women is doing in the context of the COVID crisis, especially in relation to a program that we have, which is called We Empower. We will focus on this, but of course, as you know, UN Women is present globally in many countries. So our work is, of course, very focused in each country on the situation of the COVID crisis right now. But because this program has a direct impact on the European Union member states, I'm pleased to focus on this today. And I will be very pleased also to continue the collaboration and continue interacting together in the next series of discussions that you're going to organize, Gabriela. So as I said, UN Women is the UN entity for gender equality and women's empowerment. And what we have seen actually with the COVID crisis is that global norms are more relevant than ever. So we have had a lot of advocacy starting in March, just to emphasize the gendered impact of the COVID crisis, as you were rightly saying also at the beginning in the introduction, Gabriela. I also won't focus too much on this, but there is a lot of materials globally that shows the impact on gender-based violence, the increased burden, care domestic work on women, and also the impact on women entrepreneurship and women's economic empowerment at large. So for us, really the crisis is really showing the importance of following the global norms. And of course, one of the latest is related to the SDGs, which have specific indicators and targets in relation to economic empowerment. I just want to also make reference to a fairly new op-ed by our executive director, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngunka, and Commissioner Dalli, which is really going out now, focusing on the importance of building back better for gender equality and really to work together for a better and equal future, really working and investing more on reducing barriers and reducing gender structural inequalities, also focusing actually on women entrepreneurs in this op-ed. So I'm inviting you to have a look at this op-ed as well. So, but more specifically today, as I said, I really want to put an emphasis on a program that we have also with the European Union and the ILO, the International Labour Organization, which is called We Empower. It supports sustainable and equitable economic growth by promoting women's economic empowerment in public and private sectors. So the I mean, the interesting part is that it has a component in EU member states. It's very much focused on the G7 work and also G20. I am glad I was hearing the reference to the G20 work by Elizabeth, and this is also working in that context. So it facilitates dialogue and exchanges among G7 countries and the private sector. We are also through this program engaged with the private sector to eliminate gender inequalities faced by women in the world of work. And also, and this is perhaps the most interesting part, for you today, is that it supports the connection between women entrepreneurs in G7 countries and EU countries to amplify business opportunities and trade. So one key feature of this program is that it focuses on the women's empowerment principles, which you probably are aware already. The platform aims to mobilize business action to advance gender equality and women's empowerment at the workplace, marketplace, as well as the communities. It's a set of 7 principles for businesses to analyze their current initiatives, their benchmark and reporting practices, and tailor policies and practices to improve gender equality. The idea is really not only just to have a set of principles that companies are applying, but it's also to trigger partnerships, communicate between each other as companies, as signatories within the industries and the supply chains. So today we have nearly 3,300 CEOs which have committed to implementing the WEPs. The program has been running for 2 years and will be closing it towards the beginning of next year. And I just want to emphasize that we have similar programs in Latin America as well as in Asia. So if you have an interest, I would be happy also to share more information through Gabriela. So this is the Women's Empowerment Principles journey. It's a norm, a framework, a journey, because it's an opportunity to grow also. It's a partnership and a network. The 7 principles are summarized here. It's really about high-level corporate leadership, the employee health and well-being and safety, the enterprise and supply chain development and marketing practices. It's also about measurement and reporting, looking at gender equality in the workplace, the education and training for women, as well as equality through community advocacy. So these are the 7 principles, and the journey is really, of course, you sign the empowerment principles, but you have a chance to become a global role model for gender equality as a company, as well as participating in supporting other women entrepreneurs. So this is what we also very much like, the coordination and together with women associations and networks as well, Women's Entrepreneurs Association and networks. And of course, also contribute to inclusive supply chains. So, of course, the program, but of course more globally, UN Women has had to look at its programming and assessing the situation with the COVID crisis. So in particular, this program is looking at the specific gender-related issues faced by women entrepreneurs. And given the impact of COVID, we've decided to focus on increased action to foster specific policy support for women entrepreneurs. That's one area. The other area is really to look at the possibility for increasing opportunities for women entrepreneurs to connect and exchange on their issues and potential solutions. And we are very happy to join the discussion today, also in this context. And then thirdly, promote wider dissemination of the WEPs among women entrepreneurs. This is important to us because we see it also as a tool for building back better and a better recovery together. So in the first aspect, on the increased action to foster specific policy support for women entrepreneurs, and this is also what Elizabeth was sharing, it is really about publishing and producing series of policy briefs, and really to bring the policy advice and the technical advice to the policymakers on the impact of COVID on women's economic empowerment generally, but also on women entrepreneurs specifically. And we organize series of webinars on the specific challenges faced by women entrepreneurs, likely to increase in the post-COVID-19 area. So, for example, on gender responsive procurement and access to finance. One area at the broad policy level we engaged in is in the discussion, larger discussion on the G7 discussion this year. We organized a virtual high-level roundtable on gender equality and the COVID-19 crisis, response and recovery, together with the G7 leaders, obviously, the European Union, as well as the members of the gender advisory councils of the G7, both established by Canada and then followed up by the French presidency last year. And we issued a series of recommendations, I mean 10 action points basically, and there will be also so you will see online on the UN Women website these 10 action points, and there will be also a more detailed policy brief published. And one area is really about mitigating the impact on entrepreneurship and employment, and also one of the key recommendations coming out of that high-level roundtable is to tailor gender-responsive approach to reaching women entrepreneurs' own entrepreneurship, and really also looking at the hard-hit sectors where women are occupying the sector most. So this is one area, but there are 10 areas also looking at the care economy, domestic work, gender-based violence. So I'm really inviting you to have a look also on the at the link and then follow up. So this is just one of the or series of examples of the policy briefs that we produce together with governments, private sector, academia, and civil society. This is available under the website of the We Empower program and the WEPs resources. The link is just below. In terms of the second area of connecting women entrepreneurs from G7 and the EU, I just will mention just 2 examples. We co-organized a virtual mentoring session with Impulse for Women at the end of June, connecting women entrepreneurs and mentors. The second event I would just like to mention is a 2-part, which is upcoming, a 2-part virtual event connecting women business associations across the G7 and the EU. Which will start tomorrow and then until 14th of July. There will be an invite-only virtual cafe to inspire dialogue on strategies to support women entrepreneurs in COVID-19 recovery efforts, as well as an online discussion co-hosted with Eurogender with experts. And of course, all women business associations and women entrepreneurs across the G7 and the EU are invited to join and contribute with their views and recommendations. So I'm really inviting you to join. And as an outcome, we will have a written advocacy tool. So as an outcome of the online discussion, highlighting the practices and recommendations for supporting women entrepreneurs in G7 and EU countries. So very happy to receive your ideas and feedback in that context. Finally, again, as I mentioned, one of the areas is really to increase dissemination of the WEPs, of the Women's Empowerment Principles, among women-led businesses. For us, it's really important because we see that women businesses can lead the way in promoting increased solidarity and in doing business with other women. And this was also part of your your introduction, Gabriela. So for us, the WEPs appear as a great resource for the private sector. Also to help protecting the most vulnerable groups. And as you know, the WEPs are informed by international labor and human rights standards and are grounded in the recognition that businesses have both a stake and a responsibility for gender equality and women's empowerment. So I will stop here, and I'm really happy to further engage today and in the coming months. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to the next presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laurence. That was quite inspiring as well. Just a follow-up question. Can you give us a little bit more information where our women entrepreneurs or women associations can join for this event going on from 8th until 14th of July? So this
yes, I will be very happy to share the link. Yes, I'll be happy to share the link through the chat, and then, or maybe through an email that I can forward, where you can forward to all participants and maybe other members of your networks. Yeah. Very happy to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. So we will share the information about how you can join this event. Some of us will also be there, and we're looking forward to this online discussions where we're going to discuss so many different things, from social care to digital economy, typical questions like what we as civil society should do. So you're really welcome to join us in the following days, and we will send you definitely the link where you can find more information and how you can join. So thank you, Laurence, for that, and also for all the other information. I also invite you to check all the different resources. There's so many different resources on women entrepreneurship in COVID-19 times, prepared by UN Women in cooperation with the very different organizations like the International Labour Organization and alike. Now we would like to move on with Sanja, so that Sanja can share with us what Enterprise Europe Network and Women Entrepreneurship Group is doing lately and previously, but also lately in supporting women entrepreneurs to survive these COVID-19 times and hopefully get even stronger. So Sanja, the floor is yours, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Gabi. I've already shared my presentation. I hope that you can see it, yes?
Yes, it's all fine.
Okay, yeah. Super. Thank you very much for invitation and the opportunity to present to the women stakeholder organizations our sector group within Enterprise Europe Network. By the way, Gabriela is vice chair of this sector group, so I'm really happy to see familiar faces also in this webinar, and this is a great initiative of new WEG team that connect all of us together, and we really should exploit more the opportunities of online meetings to strengthen our own network. As you are aware, probably Enterprise Europe Network is actually the network of different consortia. More or less, there are 600 member organizations in more than 60 countries worldwide, and with also the main aim to support small and medium-sized enterprises in different aspects, from technology and innovation support to actually business and matchmaking services. And there is a huge range of business support organizations and the research organizations involved in this support.
Just a second, if I may interfere. If you could just put a slideshow on.
Oh, yes, sure, I will.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No, okay, fine. Sector groups actually are the form within Enterprise Europe Network which aims to support directly SMEs from relevant sectors, and there are 17 sector groups, and Women Entrepreneurship sector group is the youngest one. Actually, it was established in 2013 because this is actually a political priority for European Union to do gender mainstreaming in their policies, including, of course, economic policy. Since then, sector group Women Entrepreneurship did a lot, and actually what is the aim and how do sector group actually support women entrepreneurs. This is first place we try to find clients and cooperation partners for our female companies from our network. We also provide to female companies innovation services, innovation assessment, support in their innovation management. Then also we promote and help them to access to different existing women entrepreneurship networks, and provide to our female companies as clients information about available EU programs and support them in applying for grants. Also, what is specifically I would like to emphasize is that our sector group promotes continuously the cooperation with other sector groups, and there is this multi-sector approach because it is obvious that women companies can't grow if they cooperate only between each other. Although women entrepreneurship is a horizontal group, we also need to establish and to cooperate on sectorial basis with other companies. What our sector group did also in past 7 days is that we started I think 4 years ago with this strategy, or two-layered strategy, which means that each of the member of our sector group established the cooperation with the respectable national organization of women entrepreneurs. This is the first layer. In the second layer, we, as a member of the sector group, connect our national organizations between each other, and they establish the cooperation on that two layer. I would add there is the third layer between the members of the national organizations who connect between themselves based on, of course, business interest. This approach really was very successful and resulted in many partnership agreements. So there is also procedure how we formalize that two-layered approach, and Enterprise Europe Network with its own tools supporting this process as well. Something about our achievements. So I mentioned that we achieved many partnership agreements, actually more than 70 partnership agreements between female companies have been established and reached, but also we provided around 30 advisory services to our female clients, and most of them are related to their aspire to internationalize their businesses. Also, one of the main activity of the whole Enterprise Europe network is organization of B2B meetings, and we as members of the sector group initiated or organized or co-organized many events focused on female entrepreneurship. And some 1,000 female companies participated so far in such kind of events since 2013. We also try to develop some digital communication channels, and we established Facebook page with more than 261 followers and 250 page likes, and we do it from our own resources internally, from our members on the voluntary basis. So our members actually are involved in different activities by their voluntary choice. Also, we are supported by communication sector within Enterprise Europe Network. I mean, COSME, who is the stakeholder, and in communication channels of Enterprise Europe Network, its newsletter, NetLife, European IPR Help Desk Bulletin, and similar. And we also are invited to promote our sector group at the events of other sector groups, which we use very much. So our aim, the most important aim, is to connect female companies and enable them to establish partnership cooperation. Also, our activities are to organize different events, matchmaking events, company missions, then also to promote gender mainstreaming around and through different EN events, and assist women entrepreneurs in joining existing networks or support funding programs for women entrepreneurship. So this is now to present you and to have insight in our structure. We are 21 members from coming from 15 countries. As you can see, we almost cover all parts of Europe. so not only EU members countries, but also candidate countries from region from which Gabriela and I actually come from. This is a Western Balkan, so-called Western Balkan region. And we have very active members actually from our region, because women entrepreneurs face with maybe even more challenges and stereotypes because of the culture here in this part of the Europe than in other. We have also outside of our region members from Bulgaria, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Poland, Slovakia, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, UK. This really enable our female companies to access in an easier way to the market in these countries when we support as intermediaries their aspiration to go international. So this is just to illustrate our activities in 2019. As you can see, this is mostly matchmaking events, which combine not only female or women's entrepreneurship, but also other sectors like ICT, like agro-food, automotive, fashion, and digital and ICT, of course, sector. So this is really multi-sectoral approach that we promote, and we join the events, or if we are organizer, then we invite other sectors also to join us. And this enable our clients to have a huge range of possibilities for networking. Apart from matchmaking events, we also do promotion of our services, and we did 2 video, but also we created a 3-minute pitch catalog of WEG company profiles. So each of our member prepared around 2 representative profiles from their countries, but it's not limited actually. It's only about the quality of the pitch. And we created in PDF the catalog of that offers or requests in very let's say user-friendly way, without technical details, etc. Because technical details are more explained in specific business profiles that we are preparing for the Enterprise Europe Network platform. So the aim of this catalog is to attract the attention of the potential client, and then we as intermediaries help further to proceed with the connection and tailor-made support to our clients. And you can find on this link this catalog, and you can just I would invite you, I would like to invite you to take a look, and it's a very interesting catalog. Then we also promote our sector group in different events, annual conference, which is very important, the most important event on the level of the whole Enterprise Europe Network. And last year we had one of the key panels on that annual conference, which promoted actually the interest of EASME to position gender mainstreaming very, very high in their agenda. And as the director of EASME said, at the same position as climate changes. So we really need to exploit this position for the benefit of our female companies and women's entrepreneurship. This year, this challenging year, or I would say a COVID-19 year, is really something that also forced us to change the approach, but not to change the aim to support women entrepreneurs in any occasions. I would say the last event that was offline was in February, just before the COVID crisis, when we went here from Serbia to Italy, 7 days before the disaster. But still, after almost 5 months, I can say that there is a good signs for the recovering of this very well established connection and in tourism and wellness sector. Also, other events that occurred during the COVID crisis and which are going to be held in next upcoming months are all, of course, virtual and online. And I would say that experiences are very well, and that companies used to have this kind of matching events. Although it was not easy, or it doesn't seem easy that they will switch so fast to that, but the circumstances made them very much aware that they should also make a faster switch to this online communication. And our female companies actually could ask us for assistance in this registration and doing online meetings. Actually, I have to say that Enterprise Europe Network, even before this crisis, developed and rely very much on these online tools for matchmaking. For example, registration for B2B, even before this crisis, was always online, but the meetings were physical before COVID crisis. Now we have we kept this online registration, and also we expanded this with the online B2Bs. So there are some platforms that enable this kind of cooperation. So also on the 9th of June, we organized this event with Sustainable Construction Sector Group with 51 participants from 7 countries. And it was the first virtual meeting or B2B that we organized after during this COVID-19 period. And I would like that the benefit, I would like to emphasize that the benefit of this event was that really companies that probably couldn't afford regarding the time consuming to come to Belgrade, they joined us virtually and shared very valuable experience on how they cope with the challenges, for example, in Italy or Slovakia or Croatia, Greece, Hungary. So it was really very, very useful, not only for the sectorial issues, but in general for women, women's entrepreneurship. And what we discovered during this event, but also through exchange of the experiences within our sector group, is that female companies diagnosed 2 major threats. One is cash flow ceases, and the second is demand decreases under social distancing. And how to cope with these challenges. I can quote actually female entrepreneurs from this latest virtual conference that one of them said, please reduce restriction measures, we have to work. And you have to understand that this is a big construction company with the big machines, you know, that was totally, it was total lockdown in Italy, and it was the dead capital standing. So it was a big pressure, and of course it's understandable why this claim came from Italy, but also from other countries as well. Others said that one way to overcome this is to foster the digitalization of the companies. And we could heard a lot of good examples that many of them switched to digital. And also some of entrepreneurs said and mentioned in positive aspect cooperation with public institutions, not only regarding their support in subventions and grants, but also in some tendering processes and work in public projects. How Enterprise Europe Network responded to COVID-19 crisis? Actually, EEN established this e-platform. Mostly it is about care and industry product, with the aim to bring together all of the different actors in Europe to match offers and requests, share knowledge and approaches, and give an overview of tailor-made support in respectable regions. So there is the list of the topics which is relevant for the company. So company can register themselves in any of these topics and promote their offer, or to find matchmaking partner. And this stands not only for female entrepreneurs, but for SMEs in general. We in a sector group have our rolling plan with the events by the end of this year. And I'm pretty much sure that all of them will be online, although we don't have still the notification from the organizers that it will switch to online, but at this moment it's more or less obvious. Also we cooperate with WEGATE, with the WeConnect that we are going to hear more about as the next speaker. And tomorrow, of course, we also take part in the virtual cafe that we just heard from UN Women representative that is going to be held tomorrow, and where we are going to discuss more about access to finance and access to supply chain, which I think is a very, very interesting area that women can find their place, maybe even better than before, because this crisis I think opened this opportunity even more than before, because there is this interruption of supply chains, and now I think it's our chance to jump in. Thank you very much, and if you like to access any of this promotional material, feel free to access, and I recommend again this e-catalog of female company profiles. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanja, for sharing all this information. I also do invite all our attendees who are interested in finding potential partners to check out the catalog. Please also check out the marketplace that the Enterprise Europe Network has designed. It's open, you can register until the end of this year. At the moment, there are more than 700 companies searching for partners. There is the link in the Sanja's presentation. I hope that we will be able to share all the presentations, at least in PDF format, but you can always reach to us if you have any questions for links. or any additional inquiries for our panelists. So Sanja, thank you very much for sharing all of this. We will definitely share information on all the new events that will come along. I just want to emphasize that this is, at the moment, we have a really great support from the Executive Agency for Small and Medium Enterprises, or what we call it, COSME. And as you said, the moment might be right now with all the ladies in different places supporting us, and men, of course, not only ladies and gentlemen, because this is about joint efforts, and women can not only make business with women entrepreneurs, but anywhere and elsewhere, and with any entrepreneurs out there. And having that said, I would like to ask Maggie to share with us, what does it mean for women-led businesses to join global supply chain networks? What are the different challenges that WeConnect International has identified when it comes to doing business globally, but also doing business in these COVID-19 times? So Maggie, thank you very much for joining, and please share your experiences with us. They're quite valuable.
Thank you very much, Gabriella, and hello everybody. So my name is Maggie Berry, and I run the Europe campaign for WeConnect International. The We of WeConnect stands for Women's Enterprise, and we are all about connecting more women-owned businesses into the corporate supply chain. We are a supplier diversity and inclusion campaign, and indeed we've heard a few references to gender responsive procurement and the importance of supply chain. So that's exactly what WeConnect is focused on. And really, just to start, it is supplier diversity. It's all about encouraging big business and governments to buy from previously underutilized suppliers. This includes a wide range of businesses, women being one large group, but it could be ethnic minority-owned businesses, businesses owned by people with disabilities, ex-service people, those who are LGBTQI+. So it's a broad topic, but WeConnect is a gender campaign focused on this topic. And I think in a COVID-19 and indeed a post-COVID-19 world, the importance of having a diverse supply chain is even more important than ever. I think this moment has really shown the fragility of having centralized global supply chains, and actually there is a massive opportunity now for SMEs, including women-owned SMEs, to come to the fore and to be able to supply products and services locally, nationally, regionally and globally, and to help diversify opportunities. So, next page. So in terms of who WeConnect is, we're just over 10 years old. We are all about registering, certifying and training women-owned businesses that are based outside of the United States. We work with a really interesting coalition of about 100 multinational organizations who have over $1 trillion of spend. I'm on a mission to get some of that spend into the hands of women-owned businesses all around the world, and we have a central database of women-owned businesses that represents over 120 companies around the world. So if you are a women-owned business, or indeed if you work with women-owned businesses, we would love to know who you are and have them registered with us, because the more we know about you and the more we know where you are, the more we can help you connect to our multinational corporations. And you probably know this, we are focused on women. Women are an emerging market. We are a global business opportunity. We influence a huge percentage of consumer purchasing spend, but we estimate today that only 1% of corporate and government spend globally goes to women-owned businesses. And so we're on a mission to shift this 1%, even to 2% and 3%. It's billions of dollars of spend. But if we approach it very much taking an ecosystem approach, we will be able to put more financial power into the hands of women all around the world. And these are the corporations that we're working with. WeConnect is a corporate-led, not-for-profit. So these organizations are really driving the agenda, and we're working with these firms to introduce them to more women-owned businesses who they could potentially buy products and services from. So if you are a network and you have women-owned businesses in your network you want to sell to these kind of firms, then WeConnect's relevant. And indeed, if you are an entrepreneurial network and you're supporting the growth and development of your female entrepreneurs, this whole piece around supply chain is an incredibly important piece of the whole diversity landscape around how we can increase economic opportunity for women-owned businesses. Now, I will say for WeConnect International, we have a very clear definition of what a women-owned business is, and it is one that is majority female-owned. So in order for a women-owned business to register with WeConnect anywhere in the world, they have to have minimum 51% of their shareholding has to be in female hands. We have this characteristic around ensuring that if you buy from these businesses, that the money is definitely going to women. We do also look at the management and control, but the key criteria is the majority female ownership. For women-owned businesses, you can register with We Connect International for free anywhere. Check that out. As I said, it means that we know where you are. And we do also offer a formal certification. It's a formal accreditation to categorically confirm that a business is majority women owned. And we offer that in over 45 countries around the world. And in Europe, that's in the UK and Ireland, Switzerland, Germany, and the Netherlands. And as Libby referenced, we do work very closely with VDU, and we do work very closely with EEN as well, and indeed with UN Women. We are definitely collaborate very strongly within the space around female enterprise. And one of the big things that we're all around is about how we can increase access to business opportunities for women-owned businesses. We have quite a straightforward model, although it always comes with its complexities, but essentially those corporations that you saw on the screen a few moments ago, they tell us when they're looking to buy products and services, when they're running tenders and RFPs, and our job is to connect them then to women-owned businesses who could potentially supply that product or services. We have our own central database, and then we connect in with networks of networks. So, for example, if we had an opportunity in Germany, we would come to VDU, and I certainly liaise very closely with the EEN network and the Women's Enterprise Sector Group if we're coming up with opportunities in countries where we don't have a strong representation. And then essentially, once the women-owned business is in the process, they basically have to compete, as the brilliant suppliers that they are. And these referrals, these RFP opportunities have been continuing to come through to us during the pandemic. Yes, there's definitely been a change. We had a big spike towards PPE and all that kind of related equipment, no problem at all. But actually, the corporations we're working with have been continuing to run their normal business as usual projects as well. So we have been responding to RFPs all the way through. And one of the things that we call upon the corporations to do that we work with is they adopt something that we call the rule of one, which is essentially when they are running a tender or an RFP, that they ensure that they include at least one diverse supplier on the plate. So these are just some examples of RFP and tender opportunities in Europe. Just to show the breadth of opportunities that are coming our way. And certainly in the last couple of weeks, we've been looking for content management agencies, we've been looking for recruitment firms, we have been looking for, again, still some related to PPE. This time, actually, it was about face masks that could be very specifically printed on. So there's lots of different opportunities. So do get in touch if you would like to find out more. And then if I think about specifically COVID-19, we undertook a survey in April. We surveyed about 600 women-owned businesses around the world about the impact that COVID has had on their business. As you can imagine, a massive percentage were impacted negatively, but we do also know, and we did see some positives coming out of it around refocusing their businesses, cutting unnecessary expenses, taking the opportunity to set up new businesses or to offer new product lines or services, and certainly to use digital. Now, there is a very quite a detailed infographic available on our website. The link is on the slide, but I will put the link in the chat box as well. There's lots of information there to share with women-owned businesses, but it also includes a call to action for corporations and organisations about the support specifically that women-owned businesses are looking for. And as has been touched on by the other groups, they're looking to connect with other women-owned businesses. They also want increased access to business opportunities, but networking and access to finance. And this gives us a really interesting snapshot on the support that they're looking for. And as an organisation, we're going to revisit the survey so that we can compare the asks that were made a few months ago to asks in the next 6 months and ongoing, because this is really, Gabriella, as you referenced at the beginning, this is probably going to be our new normal, and actually this impact isn't going to go away just overnight. So you can find the survey just by looking on the We Connect International website. And we've been doing similar to other networks, thinking about all the different support that we can offer to our women-owned businesses. Similar to VidU, weekly email updates, lots of resources from governments, from corporations, from other women-owned businesses. We published a number of different lists of women-owned business suppliers that had COVID-related products and services that our corporations could access. We've done a lot more bringing together of our women-owned businesses to share advice and insight and problems. And actually, Libby, very much, I think the ethos that came out from the VDU network is very evident amongst women-owned businesses across the region. And we've done a huge number of online learning. I mean, we, as a global network, you know, working in all these different countries, we do a lot virtually anyway, but there's been a massive increase, probably about 3 sessions a week around the world. Sessions led by women-owned businesses to share their expertise with others, but also sessions led by some of the corporations we work with, including Procter & Gamble, the Moody's Corporation, IBM, and more. So there's, and it's all very focused around business and links to supply chain and procurement, so quite focused. We also did a 24-hour cyber gala, which was really cool. We should have been having a big in-person celebration event, which we took online, and there are tons of amazing videos that you can access online. And we also should have been doing one of our big annual events in, it went virtual. It was a virtual trade show, access to great content and opportunities to network with corporations, one-on-one conversations. So we have done, as many organizations have done, and take those in-person events and as best we can to use technology to make them available in as similar format as possible. And we're certainly going to be doing more of that. I think you know, the technology is there, and I think this moment has actually pushed the boundaries around what is acceptable and what people can do from their own home, which is great, and it does save on travel and all of that good stuff. And we've continued to do all of our normal things like sharing, you know, profiles of our women-owned businesses with the corporations, and that increased importance around buying women-owned. So lots of activity across the WeConnect global network. We have also, I think Sonia just mentioned about the importance of connecting access to finance and access to supply chain. WeConnect has a council on scaling women-owned businesses. They have just published this new report called How to Rebuild Global Business for Good, and it is exactly focused in on how you connect access to finance and access to supply chain for women-owned businesses. There are a number of call to actions on page 19 of the report. The link is there. I'll also put it in the chat box, around what can be done to do more of this. And we had a coalition of a number of financial services organizations looking at this report and detailing, coming up with the calls to actions, which we hope will be adopted by corporations globally. So I'll put the link in the box so you can access that report as well. But it is very similar to the messages coming out. It is about how do we take this moment to rebuild global business that actually supports the growth and development of women-owned businesses. We're the same as most organizations. We love our in-person events. There might not be any this year, but you can still access a lot of the events that we run are available for free online. If you go to the WeConnect International website, there is an events link, and you can see all of the different events that are running around the world. This photo is taken from our conference last year, and Libby, you're right in the front. So that's great to see. And I really hope that our next big in-person conference actually should be in the spring of 2021, that, you know, that we are able to do this, or maybe a hybrid. It might be some people in person and some people virtually, but please do check out the calendar of events online. And I'm going to close on the women-owned logo. This, as it says, it's all about bringing consumer recognition to products made by women. You can follow the hashtag #BuyWomenOwned. You can look at the women-owned logo website, and you can access a central resource of women-owned businesses who are using this trademark. It is allowed to be used by businesses that are formally certified either by WeConnect International or by an organization called WeBank in the United States. But I think it's incredibly important that we encourage not only women to buy from each other, but the wider group of consumers to buy and know that they are buying women-owned products and services. If you'd like to find out more, you're very welcome to get in touch with me. You can come through the WeGate team, or you're welcome to contact me directly. And indeed, you can register. If you are a women-owned business, you can register with us for free online. The piece around keeping that focus on the importance of supply chains, as I said at the beginning of this presentation, it is so important now as we look at how corporations are going to change the way they buy in light of how their supply chains were negatively impacted by the coronavirus and, you know, not being able to access their normal suppliers. I think there is a massive opportunity for women to step up, and we know that there are many, many hundreds of women-owned businesses that have the capability to connect and supply to our corporations. We simply need to offer them more opportunities to connect. It's not easy, but it's an incredibly important part of the female entrepreneurial landscape. And yeah, would be very happy to provide more details if anybody would like to find out more. But Gabriella, that is that's it from me, and I'll put those couple of links, I will put them into the chat box so people can see them.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie, for sharing all this information. We can move on to some of the questions that we have. Maybe Maggie, I can start with you. You know, the traditional question, the difference between the self-registered and certified. How does it work? And in order to get self-registered, as far as I remember, there are not that many information needed, but for the registration process, it might take a certification process. It might take a little while. Can you just quickly share us some?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So self-registration is free, can be done we're not talking about the United States. This is outside the United States. Self-registration, free. It means we know you're there. You do have to give us a little bit of detail about your business, but we need to know that so that we can try and connect you to opportunities. I'd absolutely recommend, you know, that all women-owned businesses at least register with us for free. It means that we can point our corporate members to more women-owned businesses that they could buy from. Certification, much more detailed. There is a cost. We would normally expect to talk to a business before they embark on this process. And businesses that are formally certified can access a lot more proactive support and profile raising within the WeConnect International Network. Again, the team here would be really happy to share more detail about that. It's quite specific, and we want to make sure that if somebody does decide to go for the paid for certification, that it is the right fit for them. So yeah, very happy to share more detail if that would be helpful for anybody, not a problem.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie, very much for that. As I said, traditional question. Of course, everybody wants to know about that. And I hope that on the next event we will all be there, and hopefully it will be physical. It's always fun to be present physically, and in the meantime we stay in touch virtually, of course. Sanya, when it comes to the virtual events and brokerage events, can you give us a little hint how our clients can join? What does it take in terms of registration? How the B2B meetings are organized? Can they get an assistance in terms of translation? How does it work for the ones that never participated in these virtual B2B meetings? That will be helpful to be heard.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, of course, especially when you mentioned translation. I was searching for these options and softwares that probably could provide some simultaneous translation online, but I couldn't find any providers of this, let's say, advanced option. But what I did, I gave idea, at least for some small software companies to innovate and to provide such kind of software. But on the other side, of course, it is possible that company owner can have with herself or himself translator sitting next to him and do it you know, online, and he or she can't are not in that way they can't they don't afford the travel costs for the translator. So this is the advantage of offline B2B. Process is very easy. We as organizers, we provide them a link and then they can register. But what the experience indicated is that companies, from some reasons, they do not provide full information about themselves. So there is a very simple box where they should insert some additional data on their company and their offer and or their request, but they do not use that opportunity. So they just register their company very fast with basic contact, and that's it. So this is something that how can we help them is to do it instead of them as intermediaries, or to try to have with them before the event some coaching and explain the benefits of full registration, in sense in providing description of their profile in more detail, not only basic contacts. This is what we see as weakness, but there is of course ways to overcome this, and we should probably invest more effort and to do in the first this stage to do that instead of them.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I think that I believe that many of these virtual services will remain a practice in the future as well. I know that at the moment COSME is doing a survey on what has changed in our services as Enterprise Europe Network, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results. And it might happen that some of these practices, like virtual B2B events, they will not completely replace the physical meetings, but they might stay as our service. And as you mentioned, we should work a little bit more on the presentation of the profiles, because that is the key. That is the new reality where they have to present themselves virtually instead of meeting physically. So thank you, Sanja, very much for that. I already had some questions in the Q&A box on EN branches in Belgium and in Spain. It's already sorted out. So we have also a question for Elizabeth concerning the use of traditional media when communicating in COVID-19 times, because in most of the countries, some of these campaigns, COVID-19 campaigns, go on TVs or national TV. So how is your experience? Is that effective? Or it is more effective to use social media, or both?
Sorry, looking at it from a point of view of an association. So we are, our association is run on member fees. So basically for the German national television, there's absolutely no way we could afford that. It's just not possible for us. And I also think, speaking from a German point of view, and I think probably around the world, I don't actually think there are that many people who sit down in an evening and watch television. There seems to be less and less worthwhile watching. So I'm not sure that would work nowadays. I think we've moved on, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you could look at incorporating more image videos onto YouTube. That kind of stuff will probably work better nowadays. Interlinking between ourselves, whether it's we connect with a link for VDU or the other way around, or with the EN. I think that would probably be a more of a way forward, but it would have to be low cost for us, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that is a similar challenge that all membership organizations face. And as you mentioned, we need to assess the effectiveness of how we spend our money. I would like to move on with the last round of questions. I would like to ask you to share with us what you think are the most important things that we should do now as women entrepreneurship stakeholders. What are the first things that we need to reshape and reorganize in our operation? Based on your own experience, from your own point of view, what is the most important thing that we should continue doing, because we already started doing something? So maybe we can go with Elizabeth, the way we presented.
Okay, I think, well, I would here, I'd have a massive link to WeConnect, to tell you the truth, because I think I think we need to use our political voice that we have in order to bring about a change in the way business is done, maybe to set a quota, maybe to set a target of the amount of business that the amount of business that is done with women-owned businesses, so that maybe, I don't know, a certain percentage increase in public procurement until 2030 or something was put in place, so that we just raise the awareness for women-owned businesses, so that at some point we wouldn't need such quotas in the future. But I think we need it at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, what we are planning to do, just sharing some information on what is happening next in WEG in the coming months. We are going to have our first annual summit, hopefully by the end of September, beginning of October. We will share the details and the dates as soon as possible, as soon as we have all arranged within our consortium. And we would very much like to use this annual summit as an opportunity to speak out, to give a message in terms of policy. And very similar to what you just said, we should discuss between ourselves and see what message should be sent out to the policy. And I hope it's not we are not late, because I know that in some national economies, there has already been a lot of changes in the women entrepreneurship strategies. There have been already a great increase in funding. But I think that this is our opportunity to send a message united, like more women entrepreneurship stakeholders together, to have our panel on the summit, and to send a clear message on what we want to have in terms of policy, in terms of benefits for women entrepreneurs across Europe, and hopefully to push it further. So that is one thing that will happen in autumn. And there we will also present the results of this big survey that we are doing at the moment. It's called the WE Barometer, or Women Entrepreneurship Barometer. You can find it on our platform, wegate.eu. Basically, everything will be there on this platform. I invite you to check it out, to register there. We are now working on redesigning the platform. It will be launched officially also in autumn. So there will be many new opportunities for partnering, for more interaction between the members there. And there will be also direct link to Enterprise Europe Network database of profiles. And what is even more important for me, there will be a link to the activities of our cooperating partners, like your organizations and the others that will join us or are currently joining us. So definitely I agree that we should convey practical solutions for enhancing women entrepreneurship in the future, and that we should focus. Now we are working on identifying the problems, like Maggie Berry also shared, and all the other presenters, that we have done a lot of studies. We are also doing this WE Barometer. It's open until the end of July. And then we will also use these results later on to discuss what type of policies we should influence, but your experience and your input will be even more valuable, or will be an add-on to this WE Barometer. You're also invited to consult and to share this barometer to your women entrepreneurship clients. But let's move on to Maggie. Maggie, what do you think that we should push a little bit more when it comes to women entrepreneurship stakeholders? How we should proceed, and what type of practices shall we pursue in the future in order to be more stronger?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Libby almost took the very similar words out my mouth, but that's totally fine, because I actually think this whole piece around supply chain inclusion, I think, you know, over the years there's been a lot done around training, mentoring, networking, all really, really incredibly important. But at the end of the day, we need there to be business opportunities for the women-owned businesses to access, and how actually they can sell their products and services, and whether that is in the private sector, whether that is consumer, whether it's B2B, and also looking at the public sector. So I echo those words, and I know the whole of the WeConnect International team, you know, we've been, you know, this is not a new thing for us, you know, as I say, this is, you know, we're 10 years old, and but it's still, I still talk to so many women-owned businesses who are like, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know those corporations would be interested in even talking to me, and they are. And one of the really important things is for women-owned businesses, please stand up and be counted, and please let's know who you are and where you are and the products and the services and the capabilities that you have. And whether that is local, whether it's regional, whether it's global, because actually I know within our network, and this is just looking at WeConnect, we have some really amazing women-owned SME suppliers, and they are doing brilliant stuff. And I quite simply want to make sure that the corporations know about them and have the opportunity to buy from them should they be the right fit. And I want to see more and more and more of that, alongside all the other good stuff, the networking, virtual, probably for the rest of the year, and the programming and the support and the training. Because it's, as I said, it's a whole ecosystem approach. It isn't one thing, but I think the supply chain piece is incredibly important.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. We also have to do our share then and support our women entrepreneurs in how they can access these supply chains and encourage them to join. I also have a lot of clients that are really, you know, they really have the potential, but we really need to work with them so that that they join this type of supply chains, and that they go outside, not only on international but global markets. Why not? I mean, we do have the potential. We just need to be visible, as you mentioned. They need to know that we do exist. So definitely that will be something that we're going to work on with our clients. And Sanya, can you share with us what else can we do in these difficult times, and maybe help women entrepreneurs turn around their businesses into a success, apart from what we already mentioned?
Yeah. Well, I think that as intermediaries, we should act both externally and internally. Externally, we should help women entrepreneurs to articulate their own new needs that come from these new circumstances, and communicate to other stakeholders in appropriate way. So we should monitor and what are their needs, and make evidence-based advocacy initiatives, similarly like other speakers said. Internally, we should enable women entrepreneurs to strengthen their network and to develop some new tools like e-stock exchange, like the platform to exchange their products, services, expertise, and even their thoughts about or strategies, how they overcome these new circumstances, and how they probably achieved this new normal.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Sanya. We had a question from attendees whether they will be able to get the presentations. I assume that it will not be a problem to share it in PDF format. The webinar is also being recorded, so they will be able to listen to some parts once again. We have one question. For Elizabeth, given the fact that Germany is well known for its effective social economic policies towards women entrepreneurs during the crisis, and you're having real support from the government in terms of, do you have real support from the government in terms of policies and tax facilitation for businesses, and what kind of measures or strategies the government has undertaken? So that is another question that we just received for Germany.
Very interesting question. Actually, Germany is I think, the country with has invested the most gross national product in GDP in Europe. In the Corona, it's made the largest investment in Corona aid. I think it's 50% of our gross domestic product, which is an awful lot. I think France and UK follow with about 25% or something. And yes, we have. I think it was within a few days or maybe a week or so, there was something called Kurzarbeit Geld, and there was a policy for short work. So I don't think furlough is the right word in English. I'm not actually sure what the right word in English is, but it's basically the government pays, I think, 60% of the salaries of the employees, and that helps the entrepreneurs to survive for a while because that decreases their costs. So that's one big aid that was given to governments. There were lots of different ones. One that stuck in my mind, it's just started on the 1st of July, is they've reduced the cost of, or they've reduced the VAT from 19% to 6%, and I think 7% to 5%, which sounds great, and which probably is great for people, for if you have B2C customers, but B2B customers, that's just an incredible increase in the amount of work we all have to do. All the cafes that have just reopened, or restaurants, and they now have to have all their cash systems reprogrammed and stuff. It's one of those, this is my personal opinion, so I'm not speaking on behalf of VDU when I say this. It's one of those policies that's been put in place in Berlin, and we're not sure whether Berlin actually realizes what an impact that has on especially small and medium-sized businesses. So of course there's always the pro and the contra, and the for and the against for different situations. But yes, the government has been very supportive. I think all the whether it's all the political parties have joined forces, and they've been unusually together in finding ways for us to survive and move forward.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Elizabeth. And I think that we are rapidly running out of time. And I would like to thank you all very much. And if there is something else you want to add, feel free to do so. I would like to thank you all for joining us today, the panelists, the attendees, for all the information shared. Please do check on our platform, but also on WEG platform, but also on the different websites shared today for all the information that might be useful for you. And I would like to just to announce that there will be new webinars coming up soon. They will be focused more on access to finance. So we will share all information in due time. In the meanwhile, I hope that you find all the links in the chat that Maggie Berry shared, that also that are shared by Lawrence on the UN Women event. So I hope to see some of you during next week as well on this quite engaging online discussions. And if I don't see you in the meantime, I wish you a very nice summer. Keep safe, keep well, and let's meet up on the annual summit in September or beginning of October. But let's stay in touch in the meantime virtually. Thank you very much for joining today. Maggie, Sanya, Lawrence, and Elizabeth, let's stay in touch and see what else can we do later on supporting women entrepreneurs even more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.